Bonjour, Kinamagian in Ireland and Dijnikas, and welcome to this episode of the My Math Network. Today's episode from Chapter 3, Lesson 9, Place the First Digit. Essential question: what strategies can be used to divide whole numbers? So what would happen if you placed the first digit of a quotient in the incorrect place? Simple answer, nothing good. If you place what should be in the hundreds column into the thousands column, you're very likely to end up trying to have the right number of digits in your quotient and get an incorrect answer. Albeit some students sometimes still find a way, your chance of success is not real great on this. How would I find 2,124 divided by 6? So I'm going to use my annotation tool, and I stop and say to myself, how many times will 6 go into 2? If your answer is, you can't do that, you're correct. The analogy is if I had a 2-gallon jug, I can't put 6 gallons of water into that jug. It just won't work. But because you've all learned about regrouping, I could take these two groups of 1,000 and break them each into 10 groups of 100. So we'd have 20 groups of 100 plus the one group of 100 and have 2,100s. So now I'm going to need to put my 6 into 21. Well, how many times? We know it's 3. But notice where I put it. I did not put it over the 2 because we're not dealing with the thousands column. I was dealing with 2,100s instead of 2,000. So because of that, I put it in the hundreds column. Once I have this point taken care of, the rest of this is no different than any other standard algorithm problem you may engage with in division. So we'll work our way through it. 6 times 3, 18. That's the multiply step. Our next step is subtract. 21 minus 18 is 3. I check, 3 is less than 6. So then I bring down a 2. Now I'm going to go 6 into 32. And this represents 32 groups of 10 because this is a tens place. And we know that 5 times 6 is 30. So I'm going to start with a 5. And I know that that will equal 30. And now I subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. And you don't have to put a 0 if it's 3 minus 3. You can, but you don't need to. I check. 2 is less than 6. I bring down the 4. Now I'm 6 into 24. Well, I happen to remember that 6 times 4 is 24. So I'm going to put the 4 up here. Multiply and get 24. I subtract. I get a 0. 354 is my quotient. If I had put it over here, it's very likely I would have tried to find something to fill in over here. So that's why it's important to place it in the right spot so that you don't end up making bigger mistakes later. Yeah, it's possible I could just mess it up and have a 3 and a 5 and a 4, but seeing this 4-digit thing, 4-digit of quotient, I'm going to try to fill it. I will say that some students are more comfortable and put a 0 here, and they would multiply 0 times 6, get a 0, subtract, and then go from there. Bring down the 1 and still have 21, but that puts you in the exact same spot. So you're welcome to skip that and just go right into the hundreds place in this case. So I'm going to move forward here. You see the answer. We were good to go. 388 divided by 4. Let me get my annotation tool again. Smoothie gives it to me. Third time's the charm. 4 goes into 3 how many times? It doesn't. If you have a 3-gallon pail, good luck putting 4 gallons of water in it. It's not going to work. So I'll regroup those 3 groups of 100 into 30 groups of 10 plus 8, so I have 38 groups of 10. Now I'm going to do my math. 4 goes into 38 9 times. Notice I placed it over the tens because I was doing 38 tens. I didn't put it over the 3, even though it's the first digit in the dividend, because I didn't end up dividing 3 by 4. I divided 38 by 4. Once I have that, it's regular standard algorithm. I multiply 9 times 4 is 36. I subtract. I get a 2. 2 is less than 4, so I bring down and I get 28. I know that 7 times 4 is 28 because I'm watching football as we speak. We get 28. Subtract. Nothing. So my final answer, 97 visitors. I could check my work. 97 times 4 is, in fact, 388. I'm good to go. So again, if you remember anything out of this lesson, it's that you need to make sure that your divisor is at least the same size as the dividend. If that dividend is smaller than a divisor, you're going to need to move over a spot. And then after that, everything else is normal. So let me go ahead and clear my drawings. And let's go into example basic. You should have your packet open, and this will be on page 209. Lesson 9, place the first digit. The expectation is that you'll fill this in as we go. If you need a moment to catch up, always feel free to pause the video and then be able to move on. Other tools that you might need to gather include pencils and dry erase boards with markers, if you choose, or a piece of paper. If you need any of those items, you pause the video and then move on. All right, so let's begin. Example basic. Raven received 135 emails over 3 weeks. She received the same number of emails each week. How many emails did she receive in the first week? So we'll start by rounding. Make sure I have the right spot here. And if you remember, if we're trying to get an estimate, we go to the first ones. 3 does go into 15 5 times, and then there's a 0. 50. So we could have gone 120 or gone 150. Either one works. So let's divide the hundreds. There we have a 1. Will 3 go into 1? Can you put 3 gallons of water in a 1-gallon jug? No. So we'll regroup into the tens place. So 10 plus 3 is 13 tenths. And now we'll divide that. 3 does go into 10 4 times. Let's put that there. Then we multiply. We have which 3 times 4 is 12. And then I subtract. I check. 1 is less than 3, and I bring down, I get a 5. Now I go 3 into 15. And I remember that 5 times 3 is 15, so I'll put a 5. I also know that that will multiply out correctly. And nothing left over. Helpful hint, the symbol of an equal sign with a little bit of a wave means about or almost equal to. So Raven received 45 emails in the first week. And I check for reasonableness. 45 is pretty close to 50. We're good to go. Make sure this is filled in, and then we'll move on. I'm going to go ahead and clear the drawings. You see that our answers look good. So let's go to the top of the next page, page 210. And this will be example niche for 2. And we have 6784 divided by 7. Get this exactly how I want it. If I'm doing the rounding, I look for something that's close to 67, but divisible by 7. They went with 7,000, which I can support. 7 divided by 7 is 1. There's 3 zeros, 1,000. So our answer should be near 1,000. So we begin here. Does 7 go into 6? No, it doesn't. 7 is larger than 6. I need to move on. Remember, some students will put a 0 there. I generally don't. I just move on with my business here. So now I'm going to regroup the 6 groups of 1,000 into 60 groups of 100. And I plus the 7 are already there, and I have 67. I know that 9 times 7 is 63, and that's just a little less than 67. So I'm going to start there. And I have, since I just gave that example, I already have fresh in my mind that 63. I subtract 67 minus 63 is 4. And then I compare, is 4 less than 7? Yes. And then I bring down the 8, and I have 48. 7 goes into 48. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42. So that's 6 times. We're a little bit short of being able to make it 7. 6 times 7 is 42. I then subtract 8 minus 2 is 6. And now I go into 64. Well, if 9 times 7 was 63, I'm wise to pick the 9 because that's just less than 64. And you could use your knowledge of numbers to make your life easier. And then I have 4 minus 3 is 1. So my remainder is 1. My final answer, 969 R1, or 969 and 1/7. And I check for reasonableness. 969 R1 is pretty close to 1,000. I would accept this as a good answer. All right, go ahead and make sure these are all filled in. And I'll go ahead and clear. Again, if you ever get stuck where you need an extra moment, pause the video and then we move forward. Pretty well there, my friends. All right, let's do 2 guided practice, and then we'll give you some practice. You can get my annotation tools here. Wherever you are, in the classroom, at home, in a bus, but not in a library, feel free to shout out the answers as we go. Yes or no, does 5 go into 4? Correct when you said no. So I regrouped that 4 groups of 100 into 40 groups of 10, plus 3, and I have 43. How many times will 5 go into 43? Let's hear you. Good. I hear you all the way here in Midland, where our home office is. So 8 was the answer. Now I multiply. What's 8 times 5? Good. You got that one right on the noggin here. We have a 40. So 8 times 5 is 40. Now we subtract 3 minus 0. Well, you know that's 3. Now 3 is less than 5. I bring down a 5. How many times will 5 go into 35? And you're correct. It is a 7. 7 times 5 is 35. I would say 35 minus 35 is 0. So my answer is 87. We did a good job here. So let's go again. Does 8 go into 6? Let me hear you where you're at. Whoa, that was pretty loud. You're right. 8 does not go into 6 because it's bigger than or greater than. So I'll regroup that 6 group of 100 into 60 groups of 10 plus 2, so we have 62 groups of 10. How many times does 8 go into 62? You're right, it's a 7, because 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 7, shout it out, good, 56. Now I subtract 56, or 62 minus 56 is 6. And now I check, is 6 less than 8? Correct. Bring down the 9. How many times will 8 go into 69? Well, I just said a moment ago that 8 times 8 was what? You're right, 64. So I'll start there. I'm going to go ahead and put my math skills in there. Now I subtract. 9 minus 4 is 5. And you put it right here. Would I mark you down if you said 78 and 5/8? No, I wouldn't, but you're not required. So make sure those are filled in. All right, I'll go ahead and clear the drawings. See the answers. So you want to find 510 divided by 6. Tell how you know where to place the quotient's first digit. I look and say, does 6 go into 5? If that answer is no, then I know it needs to go over the 1, because we're going to go into 51. So let's move forward. Here are some ones for you to practice. I want you to fill out all 3 and keep paying attention to where you put your first digit. Will the 6 go over the 5? Will the 5 go over the 3? Will the 4 go over the 2? You know the answer to all that. And then go ahead and use your standard algorithm. Once you're done doing these problems, pause the video and let's go back and see how you did. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. Number 3, you had 96. Good job. If you had number 4 at 617, Nishin. Number 5, if you had 64, Chi Nishin. And although they don't do a good job of putting the numbers over here, let's look at this one. 9 times 6 is 54. Subtract, you get 3, 36. 6 goes into 36 6 times. If you're stuck on anything with the standard algorithm, please let me know. Let's go ahead and practice those 3 problems. You may pause the video now. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. You had 754 remainder 3. You got her. 54 remainder 1. Chi Nishin. 68 remainder 2 for the clean sweep. Let's do a story problem together. 624 envelopes to be sorted into 8 different mail bags. If the same number of envelopes will be in each bag, how many will be in one bag? You may have already had a good idea of how to attack this, but let's use our annotation tool. I'm going to write it as 8 into 624. Will the 8 go into 6? No, I mean, that's the whole point of this lesson. But we'll go into 62 7 times. We get a 56. We subtract, we get a 6. 6 is less than 8, so I get a 4. 8 times 8 is 64. Oh, no remainder, 78. At this point, you're permitted to move on and begin the homework. Homework is found either on page 213 and 214, or you can complete the digital form. If you would like, you can write all over the page 213 and 214 and type in the answers on the digital form. But if you do that, make sure you send the homework page at least with you in your next packet delivery so that I can observe your thinking and provide any assistance necessary. Hopefully you had a good understanding and this was a successful lesson for you. If it's not, please reach out to me during office hours. or send me an email at mireland@sitechipschool.net, and I'd be happy to go over them with you. Bama P.